Just getting the last things put together. There we go. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are welcome back to It's Good Enough Teas. Just getting the rest of my preparations done, and then we'll get going. Getting floured surface ready ahead of time. So I want everything to be nice and ready to go.
Oh, shit. Oh.
Ignore Mark. He's loud. He's playing Rocket League. He does fun stuff. I do this other fun stuff. So, today we're going to do some savory scones. The world's a little bit of a crazy place right now, but you still got to eat. So, today is a nice, it's a breakfast, it's a snack, it's a side dish. You can do it instead of rolls. You can pair it with a lot of things. A cheese course, charcuterie plate. Anyway, savory scones. You can really do whatever you want. I, of course, as usual, chose the things that I have in my refrigerator already. So, using up stuff, not throwing anything away, and keeping it simple. So, we've got in the bowl already, measured out, flour, salt, pepper, baking powder, and then the one herb. I got mixed in there now. I was trying to show, but the one herb I apparently cannot kill in the garden, which is rosemary. Had the same bush for forever, just in a pot. And yeah, so that's why I use that. It's nice and fresh. Picked it today. Gave it a nice, good chop. Teo says, aha. Aha, because I'm here. Aha, because I am not playing Final Fantasy with you at the moment. Anyway, I'm just whisking the dry ingredients together right now to get them nice and well distributed. Gotcha, Teo. This also helps me break up any lumps in the flour, so I don't have to worry about having a sifter, because just an extra piece of equipment that I don't want to have to clean. Like I said on the Insta, this one is important to keep your hands dry and hopefully not too hot, for these to not just melt and goop everywhere. We're going to keep them cold, put them in the oven cold, so the heat hits right away and it doesn't just melt everywhere. So because of that, I also don't want to mix this a lot once I get liquid in there. So I'm going to get everything dry in there first before I add my liquid. But since everything's been chilling in the fridge, I'm going to go grab that right now. Got our cream, our butter, all pre-measured up. And I've got the things I'm going to put in the scones to make them nice and tasty. And we got our topper as well. So, everything nice and laid out. With a little trim, some little itches. I'm going to have to wash my hands a bunch. But that's good. Hot water and then switch to cold, because again, I don't want to keep my hands cold for this. If you're worried about it, you could also use a food processor, but if you don't want to clean it, you can use a fork or your hands or whatever to get it all nice and mixed up. So, I already have my dry stuff. Next thing is throw in my cold butter that I've diced up. Got a full stick of it here. This is going to make, I don't know, probably 12. So that butter has been diced up, so help me get it start incorporating. I'm just going to toss it in the flour, so I'm not putting warm hands right on them. And then just kind of pinch it together with my fingers to make a breadcrumby texture, breadcrumby sized thing. If you watch other cooking shows, they'll say like a peas texture, or peas, the size of peas. I think it should be smaller than that. Peas are pretty big for this. I'm just kind of rubbing pieces of butter in between my hands with the flour, which is why I said that you should be really clean for this. One thing that irks me a little bit about cooking shows is that cooks will be doing this, and they'll be wearing watches, they'll be wearing rings. You can't get those clean enough unless they're going and dipping their hands in alcohol, really getting them scrubbed out. People don't wash their rings all the time, so take them off, wash your hands, put them in a safe place, put them back on later. No jewelry while you're cooking. Scone. What's a scone? Uh, Scone is a kind of versatile pastry. It can be sweet or savory. Uh, you, it's a very English, British kind of thing. They serve it a lot with, like if they do a high tea, they'll often have a scone as part of their little finger foods plate. You can liken it to a biscuit or a muffin. Uh, like a dumplings are more often. I really can't say. Comparing it to a dumpling, I associate dumplings like being more steamed or cooked like in liquid, whereas this is going to be just baked in the oven. Um, like dumplings, I associate with soup or something, so very wet. This is like a biscuit. I would say the closest thing is a biscuit. So now that I've got all my butter kind of going through here, it's okay if there's a couple little pockets. There's just going to be little pockets of lovely taste in there for you. Butter tastes good. That's why I use butter. If you want to keep it not, if you want to keep it vegan or something, feel free to use shortening. Just keep it cold the same way. Coconut oil, but that's going to be even harder because it melts a lot faster. So I would use a food processor or a fork or pastry cutter for that. Um, but the butter is not going to melt so fast on me, so I'm going to use my hands. So I have, you can use whatever you want. Like I said, I'm using the stuff that was in my fridge, and I just kind of wanted to use olives because I've got a bunch of olives, so I have kalamata olives cut up. You can always do some quality control. And just pretend I haven't had any earlier, because I totally did, but they're good. And then I have just whatever scraps of cheese you have laying around. So, olives and cheese. If you want to do a really classic combination, you can use feta cheese. It's really classically good with Kalamata olives. Very Greek. If you were here last week, we did those lamb meatballs. Um, you can also throw whatever herbs you have, want into this. It's really versatile. It's going to take on any flavor you want. For this recipe, you can throw in any savory stuff. You can do some dried tomatoes. You can do basil instead. You can get kind of a pesto-y, bruschetta-y kind of thing going. The sweet recipe would be a little bit different. There'd obviously be some sugar in here. At that point, like my favorite one that I do is chocolate chips and dried cherries. Um, but yeah, it's basically the same ingredients, and it's really simple and pretty quick to bring together. So I've got that all mixed together. You might liken this to like making a cake. They'll often coat the dry ingredients in the flour first because then it helps them stay distributed through the batter instead of all sinking to the bottom. This is going to be a stiffer batter, so I'm not going to worry so much about that. But it's a good thing to keep in the back of your head. So I'm just going to make a little well in the center and put in my cream. Actually, I have a little bit of yogurt in here too, because I like the yogurt for its tanginess, and since there's a little bit of acid in there, it's going to tenderize a little bit. It's going to be a softer texture. And then this also wants an egg yolk, so I'm just going to crack this egg real quick. You can just dump it right in your hand, and the white just kind of falls off of it. And there's my egg yolk. Drops right in. You can save this white for doing an omelet or something if you like that. Um, doing meringues if you want to make meringues. I don't generally do egg white omelets, but I would add that egg white to another one or two full eggs if I didn't want to do. If I wanted to cut out some of the calories that way. If you are doing just egg white omelets, always throw in one egg yolk because that's like you're gonna get a lot of flavor that way, and that's where a lot of all the vitamins pretty much of the egg are. All the nutrients are going to be in that yolk because that's what the birds eat when they're babies, is everything in there. Whereas the whites is just going to be all your protein. So I can really smell that I have the yogurt in there. It's got that nice, lovely aroma, and it's mixing with the rosemary. I can tell these are going to be pretty good. So now that I have the wet stuff in there, I don't want to mix it very much. I don't want to make it really tough. Um, I'm not trying to develop gluten like I would be for doing breads. Um, so I haven't even brought it together hardly, and I'm just going to dump it out onto this board that I prepared earlier. Get everything out. I can put this aside. And just with a little bit of flour that's on the board and the flour that is still in my hands, I'm just going to kind of bring it together. It'll be pretty. I don't want it to be this sticky. I think I'm going to add a little bit more flour just because it's a little bit sticky. Too sticky. More sticky than I want it. None of this might be in the way I measured before when I was looking at recipes. I used a volume recipe instead of a weight recipe, so I might have just had not quite enough flour in there in the first place. Benny, you over there playing Rocket League with my hubs? Was you? Oh, good, it was you. I see that about my sound. I muted myself briefly earlier, so good thing I didn't turn that off completely and have nothing for the stream. So now that I've got some little extra flour, just to help me bring this together. Again, I'm not kneading it. I'm just going to kind of fold it together a few times to make one little mass. And then you can cut this out however you want. I'm going to just kind of pat it into a rectangle and cut it, because if I was trying to roll it out and punch out rounds, you're going to have those scraps, and then you have to re-roll it and punch out more scraps, and those actions of re-rolling is going to make it tougher dough, and that's not what you want. So, that's still sticky. Still so sticky. Sure, that's what I get for messing with the recipe. There was some extra liquid in those olives that I probably didn't account for. So you know what? Add some more flour. Just to help me get that consistency that I'm looking for. And I can't really cut out squares of this if it is too sticky to work with. There we go. So, still sticky, but not too sticky for me to work with. So if you want to cut out rounds of it and make them nice and pretty for your high tea presentation or what have you, you're welcome to do that, but I'm going to be kind of rustic with it. So just patting it out to a shape. Then I'm going to grab my knife. and just make some even cuts down through the middle again, middle again, and then each of these into 3. And there's my 12 portions. If you want, I did have an extra smaller sheet pan over here ready to push this into, because then I would be guaranteeing myself that I had them all even and the same size, and the benefit of that is they would all cook at the same rate. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. But once again, then I would have to wash another dish, and it's gonna be good enough. So, just gonna pop these onto my tray. They're not gonna spread out or melt on me very much. They can go fairly close together, but you do want to give them a little space so that heat can get in and around the corners and cook the entire thing. You don't want them butting them next to each other, because then you're going to have bits of less cooked dough. You're going to have to bake it longer. It's going to dry out. So just give himself enough room. Now I'm going to put this in the fridge to chill up while I get my oven preheated. Check the oven. Make sure Mark's not making any bread. Don't want to melt plastic again. That was no good. And while that is heating up, those are chilling out, I can clean up just a little bit and prepare the last little bit. So I've got some oil here, got some parm. I need to clean off this cutting board so I can put some parm onto it. Put these in a little garbage bowl over here. And I'm going to fill up my sink, which I just cleaned up earlier to get ready for this. Go. So I kind of leave the last little bits of flour off here. So clean surface. And then I'm just going to grate some of this on my microplane. And I'm going to use this as the topper on my lovely scones. Don't need a ton, just enough to sprinkle on top of all of them. There we go. Just put away. My baggie of cheese. And there we go. Thirsty work, of course, as always. How's everyone doing? It's a lovely first week of 2021. Trying not to watch the news. I'm a little better than news, right now, these days. Hopefully things are happening, but I don't need to be watching it every second. Oh, hi Larry, how are you? Yeah, it's hard focusing on work on days like these. Consciousness is good. I have not been waking up so early as I used to. Teo was razzing me before about that because I don't know. I used to try to get up early and work out and stuff. now that the gym is here in the house, I can do that at lunch instead, and it works a little bit better. But yeah, lots of late nights. Try not to snack. I still get up for you. I get up early. I play games. Well, not before work anymore though. That hasn't been happening. I don't know. Ah, it's one of the fun things about baking is figuring out how fast your oven heats up and saying what point during your recipe you should be turning it on. And I do want to give those time to chill, but I'm just standing here waiting, waiting for the oven, watching it go up 5 degrees at a time, getting all the way to 425 to 185 right now. Being close to the camera and seeing my hair getting fluffy again. Oh, Mark quieted down. He must be either doing really well or really badly at Rocket League. He's not watching. Tell him a traitor. Send him a text. Tell him he should be watching. It's hard to be entertaining on these things. I don't have anything to do with my hands. Just drinking. Just cherry juice today. It's entertaining for you, Teo. You just like watching me. You haven't seen me in months. Well, that's not true. You did see me when I dropped off some chocolates on your doorstep. I still have some in the fridge. Please take them away from me. I don't need to eat more of those. You need to figure out what else I'm making food-wise. That's very accurate there, Theo. I think it's longer than that, but I appreciate the effort. Is he? I don't know. I mean, oh, okay. Well, I guess I can stop razzing him then. He's the one that says I need to keep up the constant stream of prattle. Oh, but he's not listening. He's watching on his phone on the side while he's playing Rocket League. So I guess that's good enough. Keep the numbers up. It's non-alcoholic, Teo. Sorry. It's also January, so I'm trying to do the whole cut back on the drinking. And of course, I've been drinking more than I was before because quarantine. And what else was there to do? I wasn't going out and doing things. So trying to cut that back. A little fluffier than I used to be. And I will bring you a mimosa, Theo. Sidewalk drop off. Ooh, still 100 degrees to go. 140. They don't show you this part of the cooking show. This would have been just sitting there on the whole time. It's always fun. We were watching the Great Canadian Baking Show, and this poor woman, she, the ovens are apparently default set to 160 Celsius, so 325 or something, about. And she put it in, not thinking. She put her whatever she was baking at the time, I forget what, in, not thinking about it. And then halfway through her bake, she's like, "Oh no, no, no! I needed 180." And she started freaking out, of course, because time crunch. You watch that show or any other similar show, everyone is running short of the clock. No one's finishing way early. Um, Beef up juice? Oh, I see. Ah, it's good feel good shows for the quarantine though. I don't know where we are watching them. There's some Daily Motion, some site that had the Canadian baking show. British baking show is current on Netflix. Except for the first 3 seasons, which apparently are hard to find anywhere because they weren't on the main BBC channel when they were done. So there's a few people I follow on Instagram that are the winners of like the first 2 seasons of that show. Like, oh, these guys do some wonderful baking. Where are they from? Mark's like, oh yeah, that was the winner of the season that we couldn't watch anymore because it wasn't packaged with all the other ones. Okay, so we're almost there. I'm gonna finish up the toppers, get them ready to go in the oven. Here's all my lovely scone squares over here. I've got my pastry brush, not Teo's. That one's still over there, all clean, ready for when I forget to take it over to drop it off again. Anyway, so I just got some oil, olive oil, that I'm going to brush the top of each one of these with. So light brushing, and this is just to get my grated Parmesan to stick on. That one's sort of getting a little close. Those are close neighbors. They're having a party. And this oil is going to give you some flavor, so use something that you like the taste of, because I mean it's a nice brushing of oil on a small thing, a small package. So hopefully it tastes good and you like it if you're going to use it. I also had some flavored oil, but I'm not going to use it because it's basil flavored oil, and I didn't use basil in this. If I was doing that bruschetta kind of one that I talked about earlier, maybe I would use that as the topper. But this is just plain, not extra flavored olive oil. And then that Parmesan, I'm just going to sprinkle over the top of each one. Took me a while to think of that word sprinkle. Weird, right? I was looking up a bunch of English British words for things earlier because I was wondering what they called shorts. I was talking about shorts and pants and trousers and couldn't think of what they didn't know if they had a word for shorts. Apparently it's just shorts. And that applies to formal shorts, cargo shorts, basketball, sportsy shorts, whatever, just one word, all shorts. So I put some shorts on after my workout. I'm like, what do I call these? Anyway, had that in my head because if I was having sprinkles in the UK, they'd be hundreds of thousands because there's a million little things that you sprinkle on top of things. So I don't have to do anything to them to make them savory. I'm just using savory things in them. So this recipe has chopped up kalamata olives and cheese scraps. So little pieces of cheese that I have left over from blocks, all around in the refrigerator. This one's mostly cheddary, but I said if you wanted to be more classic flavors with the kalamata olives, use feta cheese. But yeah, I don't like throwing little bits of things away, so I'm just using my cheese scraps. So, all prepped. Oven's beeped. Toss them in. And then look up how long they're supposed to bake. And 20 minutes. But I am on convection, and they are not huge, and I think my oven's a little hot, and I've never made them before, so I'm going to check them at 15. Oh no, Teo. Did you have your oven on for some reason? Is it beeping? Alright, the home assistant is on a timer. It's on 15 minutes, but I won't make you wait through that because that'll be another super exciting 15 minutes of me just talking to things. Um, so those will come out, and I will figure out what to serve them with. Um, I really have no ideas right now. I think Mark wanted stir fry earlier, so I might do that. But those aren't going to be. I mean, it's not any sort of Asian-y flavors that I put in there, and he wanted like Chinese stir fry. So maybe I won't care, and I'll just serve them alongside chicken and vegetables, and not have rice. So those would be my carb for dinner. Poor Teo. Okay, so that was pretty much it. Those are gonna bake. I'm gonna pull them out, and I'll post pics afterwards, and hopefully they're delicious. Because like most of these streams, I haven't done this exact thing before, so we're always hoping it works out. It always does. It's good enough. It's not gonna be crazy restaurant delicious worthy, but they'll be good. They'll be tasty. We'll enjoy them. So thanks for tuning in, and just remember, it's gonna be good enough to eat.
You gotta score that. Like,